بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
عَمَّ يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا.
Ramadan is upon us. We've been blessed enough to witness it again. It's a month filled with opportunity, a month where we can increase in good deeds, our worship and acts of charity. And now, more than ever, humanity needs our mercy. We've all been tested in many ways, with COVID, conflict, climate change and rising costs. These events have led to create a hunger catastrophe around the world. Tonight, 811 million people will go to bed hungry. In Yemen, the 6-year conflict keeps escalating, and 1.6 million people are expected to fall into starvation over the next few months. Layla lost 2 of her children to malnutrition and cholera, and now fears for the lives of her other 3 children. She fled to Aden to escape the violence, but was unable to escape the hunger. Despite that, there will be people determined to keep fasting, to not miss out on the blessings of this month. In Syria, conflict and displacement has pushed more Syrians than ever into extreme poverty. People do not know where their next meal will come from. Fatima and her children are starving. Out of desperation, she sometimes considers killing herself and her children to end the family's misery. In Gaza, over half the population is food insecure. Over 1.6 million Palestinians cannot afford nutritious food. Since the death of his wife, Jamal must take care of his 4 small children alone. He has kidney failure and is unable to work and provide for them. The last time the family had a proper meal was a month and a half ago. In Somalia, the population is on the edge of famine. Hawa needs food to give her the strength she needs to raise her grandchildren. But she is so malnourished and weak, she cannot even carry a jerrycan to fetch water. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The best of you are those who feed others. It's one of the best acts of worship to feed the needy. It's one of the characteristics of the believers in paradise. With your support, families like Layla and Hawa can benefit from your generosity." No one was more generous than the Prophet in Ramadan. He showed mercy to those around him, and he showed mercy by giving. Human Appeal is on the ground in 12 countries this Ramadan, delivering nutritious food parcels specific to each country. Every food parcel you donate allows a family to enjoy nourishing sahur and iftar meals throughout the entire month of Ramadan. You can take a share in that blessing by providing food for those in need. This Ramadan, 44 million people in 38 countries are teetering on the brink of famine. Your generosity is now needed more than ever. Show mercy so Allah may give you mercy. Give more so you may get more. Feed the fasting. Please, give mercy now.
Okay, to start off with, there's a few things that we need to understand and frankly to come to terms with. We have to accept that this Ramadan is going to be different, but you know what? That's okay. Yes, we're facing certain challenges this Ramadan that we did not face in previous years. But like all challenges, this challenge comes with its own unique blessings. Sometimes it's just a matter of taking the time to figure out and to realize and to contemplate what those unique blessings are. And because of those unique blessings, this Ramadan can actually be your best Ramadan ever. So I want you to first of all make that intention. Make the intention. Say to yourself, this will be my best Ramadan ever. Now that we have that intention, I have 5 tips for you to help you make this your best Ramadan ever, inshaAllah ta'ala. Number 1, have a game plan. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is make a plan for yourself, make a schedule for yourself. I mean, literally write down how you plan on spending your days and nights during Ramadan. So instead of going into Ramadan without a plan and saying, you know what, I'll figure it out when the time comes, make a plan. Set goals for yourself. But mind you, make those goals realistic goals. What is realistic is actually relative to you. You need to ask yourself, realistically, what can I accomplish? What can I do during this month of Ramadan? And I would also say take it 10 days at a time. So set a plan, a schedule for your first 10 days. After the first 10 days, you can evaluate yourself and see how you're doing and set another goal, another plan for the next 10 days, and then finally for the last 10 blessed days of Ramadan as well. Number 2, make this Ramadan about connecting with others. I know that sounds strange because we are isolated, we are disconnected, but in actuality, if we think about it, we're not that disconnected. Alhamdulillah, many of us, we have the means to connect with others even if we're not physically present with them. The internet and social media has made this possible for us. So add to your plan how you're going to connect with other people during this Ramadan. An example of that would be, hey, I'm going to call my friends every morning to wake them up for suhoor. Or I'm going to have an online meeting with 4 or 5 of my friends 20 to 30 minutes before IFTAR. We're going to get together, we're going to talk about how our day went, and we're going to remind each other to make dua in that blessed time. It's just about being creative this year and figuring out how we're going to connect with others. And part of our Ramadan experience, yes, it is about being and connecting with other people. Number 3, since we're talking about the internet, we have to say, use the internet to help other people. As you may know, Ramadan is not just about ourselves, it's about helping those who are in need as well. So take a few moments to really think about how you can contribute to the world, how you can help those who are needy this Ramadan, even though you may not be able to leave your house. Maybe it's an online campaign that you want to start. Maybe there's a charity organization that you can assist online. Once again, we have to be creative about this and really take the time to consider how we're going to get the best out of this Ramadan. Number 4, other people need help, but you need help as well. So lean on those who are with you, who may be in your house, whether it's your spouse or your children or your siblings, whoever's there, you need to sit down with them and talk to them about how we're gonna need help this Ramadan. There's so much that may be going on in someone's household that you may need to say to your spouse, hey, listen, this time to this time, there's an hour that I need for myself. I need you to take care of the kids. I need you to handle everything else. I need you to give me my privacy to maybe connect with my Lord, to read the Quran, to pray, to make dua, whatever it is that you choose. And likewise, tell your spouse, this time to this time, I got you. This is your private time. You take time for yourself, and I'll take care of everything else. Number 5, make your own schedule. What we may be used to from previous years of times that we're awake and times that we are sleeping and times that we are resting, well, that's going to be different this year. And there's a blessing in that. Since we're home, we can set our own schedule. We may not be reliant upon our work hours or our school hours. And once again, you're going to need the help of your family with this, but take advantage of the time that works best for you. You may be a night person, and you may need to stay up during the night and sleep more during the day. But that also means you can take advantage of the last third of the night if you're up at night. We know that the last third of the night is a blessed time. The Prophet ﷺ told us in the hadith mentioned in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down to the lowest heaven during the last third of the night and says, Man yad'uni fa'astajib lah. Who calls upon me? Who is making dua to me so that I may answer their dua? Man yas'aluni فأعطيه. Who asks of me so that I may give them that which they ask? من يستغفرني فأغفر له. Who seeks my forgiveness so that I may forgive them? So this may be the year that you could possibly stay up the whole night or half of the night or at least the third of the night because you're making your own schedule. Once again, it's about taking advantage of those unique blessings that come with these trials and these challenges. So those are 5 tips that I have for you to make this your best Ramadan ever. But I also want to hear from you. What tips do you have for me and for everyone else? Please leave them in the comments below so that we can all benefit and share with each other, inshallah ta'ala. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Together, we are stitched in rich history.
Whether that's the first explosion or the second explosion.
We share pain. We share love. And our threads are composed of struggle, survival, and sometimes small victories. We pray. We pray for humanity because loss is always felt mutually. And the universe sends us light. And when it fades, we liberate each other. Through action and verb. Through voice and word. We find hope in unity.
So let us rewrite destinies, because you and I can be the painters of a better history.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of knowledge and sharing within our community in South Australia. I'm once again delighted to have my guest here with me here and my co-host Brother Dawood here to share and go into more about the prophetic medicines that we've been hearing about, as Muslims, and how that is important to apply within our life. So without further ado, I would like to get into, obviously, Brother Elvia and ask him some question, and Brother Ali as well. But I want to start with the hadith of Abu Darda, where he said that he heard the Prophet ﷺ say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us diseases and cure. And he has also given us cure for every disease. So he said, apply that or treat your sickness or diseases with cure that is lawful. So that's why it's important for us to understand the prophetic medicines that is nowadays we're hearing and we're seeing that is applied within today's day in society. So without any further delay, Brother Elvia, once again, thank you for being with us. And Brother Ali, thank you for coming to the episode, about covering the health and well-being within our community here. Brother Elvia, tell us a little bit about, the understanding of what is prophetic medicine.
So, good question, Ali. So, first of all, Jazakallah for having me again. It's a pleasure to be back with you guys. So, prophetic medicine, and what is it? So, pretty much is anything that the Prophet ﷺ would have done for health or preventative, or anything that he recommended verbally. So, we know that he said that vinegar is a blessing. And now we have a lot of scientific evidence of why apple cider vinegar, for example, especially is good. Helps break down enzymes in the gut. It's amazing for reflux. So, anyone that's suffering heartburn or reflux, apple cider vinegar in the morning on an empty stomach, lukewarm water, beautiful. Same with black seed oil. We've been told that it's a cure for everything except death. Now, we have a lot of evidence, scientific evidence nowadays, explaining why it's so important and why it's good. It's got antioxidants in it. It's got anti-inflammatory. It helps with asthmatic or if you've got respiratory issues. So everything that the Prophet ﷺ used to actually tell us, and even watermelon, it's amazing for your kidneys and getting that flush out. So it's everything that he said is now researched and now it's medically proven, but that is a prophetic medicine.
So in a nutshell, basically we're saying that there were certain, ingredients that the Prophet ﷺ used to use as a treatment for, to cure the sicknesses, right?
Yes.
So it's important for us now to link that, how, we're hearing about people using black seed oil. And not only that, we're hearing some even non-Muslim companies, they're actually applying that. And I saw a documentary just recently that they were showing how even non-Muslims are actually getting cure of cancer because of the black seed oil that they were, tablets that they were using because of obviously the extraction of the black seed. So Ali, I guess I wanna basically, the question that I would like to ask you is that how can we relate that to our today's, society?
Well, first of all, if we're going to find out an issue and try and solve it, we need to find what's the root cause. And it's handy to do some diagnostics and stuff. So sometimes we may think that we have a big problem and it could be something very minor. But you know, the knowledge is with Allah. But we've been given tools like, let's say, getting blood tests. You know, some person could be feeling very lethargic, very tired, out of energy, and their Ramadan could be going really poorly because of that. So if ideally you'll get one in the lead up to Ramadan, and you'll be able to see, you know, okay, how you're going. But if you can get one during Ramadan, see maybe you have any vitamin deficiencies and stuff like that. Like if you have a B12 deficiency, you just need to take your vitamin B12, either your tablets or lozenge or something with your iftar or suhoor, or with meals and something like that.
So, you know, and also when we look at it, what's really interesting is to know with the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ, they used to, you know, break the obviously they're fasting with dates. And that's really important, because I guess how can we understand from leaving, you know, the sweets, that everything else that you can get, going to, you know, breaking your iftar with one date or 3 days?
Well, the dates have quite a bit of electrolytes in them, mainly potassium. It's good, especially nowadays. A lot of people consume a lot more salt than they used to do back in the day. So the potassium in the dates will help balance it out. Also, dates are not a particularly hard food to digest. And also we can still we can get a lot of energy out of them. They're nutrient dense and stuff like that. But we can also implement the sunnah of the 1/3 food, 1/3 water, 1/3 air. Because if you're just loading up on foods that are hyper palatable, sugary and stuff, and you're only just having that sip of water, it's like you haven't fulfilled the sunnah, and you've also set yourself up for a rough day the next day. You know, you're going to be all salt and sugar laden, and you're going to be dehydrated, and I'm sure we've gone through that. So the prophetic advice is the best, and it's always good to implement sunnahs like that. And there's always a reason behind things that were done by the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ, you know.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. SubhanAllah, just to add on that, we have evidence to say that the Prophet ﷺ did seek remedies. You know, towards the latter part of his life, he was quite sick, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he used to, some scholars say, apply henna to his hair as a form of remedy, and also tie a cloth around his head when he would have migraines. And I think it's also said that he had herbalists and doctors that would come and visit him as well. So just touching on that point of sugar, what do you think, what are some healthy replacements that we can utilize as alternatives to sugar? Because we know that honey is also mentioned in a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, hold on to the Quran and honey as a form of your remedy. And there's a whole chapter in the Quran.
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الصلاة خير من النوم الصلاة خير من النوم الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. O Allah, owner of this perfect call and owner of this prayer to be performed, grant Muhammad the right of intercession and superiority, and send him to the best and highest place in paradise which you have promised him.
SubhanAllah, just to add on that, we have evidence to say that the Prophet ﷺ did seek remedies. You know, towards the latter part of his life, he was quite sick, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he used to, some scholars say, apply henna to his hair as a form of remedy, and also tie a cloth around his head when he would have migraines. And I think it's also said that he had herbalists and doctors that would come and visit him as well. So just touching on that point of sugar, what do you think, what are some healthy replacements that we can utilize as alternatives to sugar? Because we know that honey is also mentioned in a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, hold on to the Quran and honey as a form of your remedy. And there's a whole chapter in the Quran about the bee. So give us some practical suggestions of what we can add to our diet that is a sunnah remedy when it comes to fruit and vegetables, etc., etc.
Good question, especially about sugar. So sugar kind of really hit and it became really popular in the 1960s when there was a scientific research done saying that sugar is actually good for you. And then now we've come to find out it's not. So some of the best ways to actually, we need to stop eating so much sugar, but some of the replacements will be dates. For example, if you're having coffee, and this trick here I learned by my good friend Ali, when we were on camp and we were having coffee and we didn't actually have sugar, but we had dates in coffee. So we had a bite of the date and then we had our sip of coffee. Otherwise I have seen people, they use honey into their drinks, their teas and their coffees. So utilize natural sweetness. Plus nowadays we have date syrup. Just look for organic ones if you can. So there's other ways. But I think the main idea about when something's sweet is try and minimize sugar in overall. And you'll actually notice your health will increase just by removing sugar from your diet.
Very interesting factor that one time when I was doing my placement in one of the hospitals, I saw a documentary. Being in a hospital in my break, it was a night shift. And I saw a documentary where this particular doctor, he wrote a book, and I just happened to catch the part where he said in his book, he also showed how this particular diet, which he was talking about, alkaline diet. An alkaline diet is about balancing, obviously, the acid within your body. And he said this was the diet of the prophets like Muhammad, Moses, and Jesus. You know, and this is not a Muslim person that is saying that. Just like you said, obviously nowadays they say sugar is actually considered as a poison in your stomach. You know what I mean? Which is, that's how bad it is. So replacing it with things that like, and looking the lifestyle of the prophets before us, you know what I mean? Like, you find that it was eminent for Western society, even for the doctors, to find out that this is the diet that we should be having within ourselves. So give us some things, you know, like how important is it to actually the habits, because it wasn't just the medicine that they, but also it was also the food that they used to eat, that it was a cure, a prevention. It wasn't always a cure that we were talking about, but there's also a lot of preventions. Maybe you can give us, maybe Ali, you can give us a bit of an insight about some of the preventions that we can have. What's that, you know, considering that, you know, at Adelaide Supplements, that you guys have a lot of the supplements that gives you protein and energy and so on. How can we replace that and really still apply the prophetic, you know what I mean, way of life?
I mean, compared to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we're faced with different things at the moment. Obviously, a big one has been the coronavirus.
Yes.
You know, and there have been like studies and like anecdotal reports, and we've actually seen it a lot in the shop, because a lot of people in Adelaide, unfortunately, you know, including myself, caught COVID. The things like zinc, vitamin D, that are all normally found in foods but are quite hard to get, seem to help with just colds and flus and stuff like that. Vitamin C as well. So everything's got its dose and its purpose and stuff. So we want to try and identify the problem. But for most people, you can say that if you're eating a rough kind of, you know, healthy-ish diet with a good amount of fruits, vegetables, proteins, etc., then a normal multivitamin should set most people correct. Something for the for people with bad joints, could recommend them fish oil. But really, a lot of people need to get diagnostic tests done and check their levels. Like, you could be, like I said, with B12, with vitamin D, especially a lot of Middle Eastern people, you know, like genetically, we need a lot more vitamin D. So we need to check that. And just maybe a little side benefit for the imams, whoever is leading the prayer, when you break your fast, don't have, and this is for your recitation, not for your health, don't have excess oily food. Otherwise, you know, sometimes you'll notice the imam has a bit of a cough or like a phlegmy type thing. That's because they've eaten a lot of oily food. Don't have lots of caffeine, because you won't be able to, your heart rate will rise.
That's right.
And you won't be able to hold the longer notes. And also dairy products, for a lot of people, produce that extra phlegm, which makes it a bit difficult to recite. And keep the food amount little, so you can take that air into your lungs when you recite. Because, you know, we've all been standing there in Taraweeh and we've eaten too much, and it's difficult to stand, let alone to recite. May Allah reward all the reciters and make it easy.
This is definitely something, of course, that's rewarding, and this is definitely a very good tip for them, and even for us, because some of us do, you know, host. You know, we have our own Taraweeh at home with the family, so that's definitely a good advice. Breaking the fast, you know, Dawood, you know, you coach obviously the Adelaide Thunder with a lot of the soccer players and stuff. How do you guys manage that? Especially, do you guys, you know, give them some sort of a mental and well-being, you know, advices to them, because this is something for them. It's going to be very challenging, especially, you know, we've got Taraweeh, and I know you guys have some at nighttime games or whatever after the. How do you balance that? What's the best advice for people that exercise afterwards?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's very important is we always try and, for the older age groups, delay the games until after IFTAR or until outside of Ramadan, because we try and teach the kids that fasting is the most important thing, and you can't break your fast for a sport game. That's not a valid reason. So that's number one. Number two, to be honest, I'm not the most knowledgeable in this field of diet and what diets and what to eat, but I would say that water is very important, to drink a lot of water, and maybe you can expand upon that a little bit more. And thirdly, as we know, a lot of the important historical events in Islam happened in the month of Ramadan, one of them being the Battle of Badr.
Yeah.
And actually, just a funny little side note is, for some reason, all the games that we play in Ramadan, we just seem to win. Alhamdulillah. So there's barakah, there's a lot of barakah. And a lot of generosity on the field, a lot of passing that happens and stuff.
And I think this is important, because this kind of helps the morale of the people in Ramadan as well. It's not the perception that, the people have that in Ramadan you become, lethargic, you become lazy. But in fact, it should be the opposite. It just has to be in a way that you train yourself. And if you stick to the way that you eat and how much you eat, it's crucial for you to maintain that energy throughout the day.
And I think, and a very important note as well is, one unhealthy habit is a lot of people, they seem to drink coffee and stand up the whole night, and then take time off work and sleep throughout the whole day, which is contrary to the purpose of Ramadan, isn't it? We don't hear that the Prophet ﷺ did that. He would worship and stand in the night and cry and have this intimate connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the same time during the day, that didn't stop his normal routine. So that ties into the soccer as well. Ali, one point I wanted to add was about vitamins and water. And we know that different fruits have different vitamins. And we mentioned honey, but the Quran also mentions dates and pomegranates and bananas and all these fig olive.
Olive, that's right, yeah.
So would our guests Ali and Elvia be able to expand upon the fruits that we can implement into our diets and the benefits that these fruits have on our body and on the vitamins that they give us and the way we see and the way we hear and everything else?
That's a really good question. Let's go back to food. One of the reasons why I'm very big on supplements is nowadays our food and where it comes from generally comes from overseas. Our land is not as fertile as it used to be. So the vitamins in our food, you might be eating a watermelon that you got from Woolies or Coles, and it doesn't have the nutrition in that you need. So that's why supplements have become such a big thing nowadays, because our food lacks nutrition. So some of the main supplements, as Ali mentioned, is zinc is a really important one. But zinc is also something that if you have too much of, like as you mentioned, everything extreme, can be harmful to the body. So have it on alternative days or alternative weeks. Other ones, I'd highly recommend probiotics. So good gut health is really good. What else is there? So vitamin C is a great one.
What fruits can get vitamin C?
So vitamin C, oranges, mandarins.
It's interesting you said that, because with COVID, I remember that one of the biggest things that they were pushing for is that you should increase your vitamin C intake. So because of vitamin C is obviously that they were saying that it's it helps you recover or prevention as well, which is great. So these are the things that should be implemented. So I want to thank you guys, because these are very important insights as well. We mentioned this in previous episode as well, that there's a connection between the wellness or well-being of a person. It does not go around only with the way they eat. There is that ties in with the body, mind, and soul. So all kind of ties in together. And Dawood touched on something very important, and it's very important that for everyone to know, and particularly during Ramadan, is that the sleep. If you deprive yourself, and this is what the scholars have told us, that sleep, water, and unhealthy food, these all have consequences. And it affects your mindset, affects your worship, affects your daily life, affects your family life, affects everything that you are doing on a daily basis. So the important thing is intake a lot of water, which is very, very important. Making sure that we have enough sleep. This is very important. I know last year, one of the brothers, and Brother Muhammad does this all the time, may Allah reward him for the planning for getting the best out of Ramadan. One of the things is making sure that you kind of cut yourself of all the soft drinks. So make sure that in Ramadan, no soft drinks. and allocate the time. So there's no exception that you sleep 7 hours. This is no exception. So you pray your Taraweeh and you go in and you give it like a bit of time and then you sleep. So you have enough time to get up for Fajr and the Qiyam as well. And most importantly as well is that, you know, your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the soul needs that as well. So these are kind of all go together. Before we wrap up, I would love to hear just one final advices from each one of you, because this is our third episode covering the, you know, I would say the body, mind and soul, and the well-being of human being, you know, in line with Islamic teachings. So maybe we'll start with maybe with you, since you got the microphone, Brother Alvia. Give us one final note, one advice about how to really, since we're talking about the medicine and food, that we can, you know, really manage our food during this month and after Ramadan as well.
So I think best way to manage your food this time is, as again, go back to plan it. But lots of vegetables, lots of fruit. Avoid heavy meals, especially big meat, because it does have a lot of salt. But just a few tips for people when they wake up for sahur to take. If they have to have coffee, because you have to understand, some people, if they don't have coffee, migraines, headaches. So have the smallest amount of shot of the coffee you can, and add some MCT oil, which is coconut oil, in there. So that will actually get the coffee to last a bit longer and you won't have that crash. But also another thing is, just for your liver, is lemon water, lukewarm water, a whole lemon in there with a bit of pink Himalayan salt. You've got the lemon to detoxify the liver, and you've got the pink Himalayan salt, which has about 39 minerals that you need for the day.
Wow.
And that will really hydrate you. And for soccer players, that's something I would recommend for both sahur and for iftar. But I do have to say, it will really really hydrate you. So going to the toilet is something that you do constantly. So maybe not for iftar. The other thing is apples and cucumber and watermelon. These are the beloved fruits from the Prophet ﷺ. So utilize that. Have your dates with cucumber, so you got moist and dry. And besides that, also water with pink Himalayan salt is ideal, because you want that salty water in your system to absorb better in there, inshallah.
Very nice, very good.
I might split my advice into two parts, inshallah. Just remember, first part, just remember you're a container. You know, you will do things, and they will, like your good deeds, as if you're a cup, will fill that cup. Your good food will fill that cup. Your adhkar will fill that cup. Your salah will fill that cup. All those things will fill you and make you overall, it's like, you know, like a good drink, a good mix, something that will keep you overall in a good state for all the Ramadan, inshallah, for many years to come. So make sure you take in as much good stuff, and really try and abstain from the bad stuff as much as possible, you know. And we know what that is for ourselves. And if you don't know, ask the people who do know. You know, if you have a friend who's also fasting, and you can say, hey man, you know, I notice you have the energy to work out all the time during Ramadan. How do you do it? So ask each other, you know, we're a community, we're doing it together. We can, inshallah, leverage off each other. Second, on the more sports and science-based part of it, majority of the performance-based decline that people have mentally or physically during Ramadan is two things. One is dehydration, and two is a lack of electrolytes. So you can find, some people will go for a Powerade. You can get things like hydro.
Ramadan is a month of mercy. Every year, many people around the world struggle to find food to break their fast. Let's together this Ramadan give them joy and happiness.
Month of mercy you are.